I once looked up to my cousin. I thought he was a great guy, and we were close like brothers. I was also dating a girl. I was deeply in love with her and planned to marry her someday. I thought my life was perfect. One day, I came home early because a colleague offered to cover my shift. I was pretty tired, so I accepted and went home. That's arriving home, I found them in my bed having sex. Both of them were shocked, to say the least. I told them I wanted them to be gone by the time I got back and left the house. They were gone by the time I did get back, but she left me a note telling me she was sorry and to call her when I calmed down. I didn't call her. I texted her saying that I'd gather her things and drop them off at my cousin's in a few days, and that she was staying with him now, not me. I followed through with that. It took about a week to transfer everything. Both of them tried to apologize, but I didn't have anything nice to say to them, so I said nothing. I just knocked on the door and handed the bags to whoever answered before leaving. My cousin called me multiple times to try to apologize, but I refused to accept it. 3 years have passed since then. I went no contact with them. I didn't bring it up to the rest of my family or any of their friends. I'm not sure why. I just didn't. I got a call from a number I didn't recognize, so I answered. It was my cousin. He sounded really happy and was acting like he hadn't destroyed my life. He explained he and my ex were getting married and he wanted me to be his best man. I was so angry that he had the utter gall to act like nothing was wrong and lost my temper. I yelled at him and called him names before hanging up. He sent me a text telling me the offer still stood, and if I didn't want to be his best man, then he just simply wouldn't have one. A few days passed by and I had an idea. I texted him back and apologized. I sent a paragraph of nonsense saying I was still angry, but this could be an opportunity for the three of us to heal and move past it. He was overjoyed and said he paid for everything, and he'd help me pick out a suit if I wanted, which I accepted because I sure as well wasn't going to spend any money on his stupid wedding if I could help it. The wedding day came. I spent the week prior writing a speech, putting all the negative feelings that had bottled up over the years into words on paper. The wedding was pretty good. I'm sure one of them had some nice well-paying job or something, because they must have spent a decent bit of money on this wedding for how nice it was. Entire family was there, as was a decent chunk of my ex's family. Eventually, the time for my speech came. I just remember feeling really nervous as it built up to it, and my voice kept faltering when I was reading it out. But I didn't and still don't care. At least I got it out. I explained what these two horrible people had done to me. I called them the worst names I could think of. And wished them the worst. Then I left. I was expecting some kind of dramatic moment from all of the guests, gasps of shock and all that, but there was none of that. Everyone was completely silent. Watching on my way home, I got a call from my ex that I had ruined the wedding and both of them were so upset. She asked me why I'd do this. She told me after I had left that a lot of the people they had invited just couldn't look at them the same anymore. Alta told her that they deserved it for what they'd done to me, and everything I'd said in the speech was true. Since then, I've gotten several calls and texts from others in my and my ex's family offering support and telling me how sorry they were that I experienced that. I'm not sure if I feel better having done this, but it did bring me great catharsis when people were telling me the wedding was ruined. At least now they felt at the very least a fraction of what they've made me feel. I was struggling a lot, and I'd just gone back to simply functioning, like I was before the wedding after I came down from getting my own bat. I don't at all regret what I did, and I still feel satisfied that I got payback. I was making plans to take my own life after what my ex did to me. I hadn't told anyone for obvious reasons, but my mom, uncle, and cousin, the same cousin whose wedding I ruined, came to me and told me they'd pay for a private counselor since the mental health department of the NHS is under-equipped, to say the least. I went to therapy, found a counselor who was very helpful. He taught me a lot. I got diagnosed with PTSD caused by the discovery of the affair. He's been a big help and has encouraged me to give casual dating a try to build confidence in myself and get used to rejection as a normal part of life. I signed up for a few dating sites, although I'm avoiding Tinder like the plague. My counselor specifically suggested I stay as far away from Tinder as I possibly can. I've not been very successful in that avenue, but it's pretty much in line with what I was expecting. I've talked to a few people and even got a date scheduled, but she stood me up and ghosted me, which hurt. I'm doing much better now mentally than I was before. In a way, I feel like what I went through has made me much stronger as a person and has taught me on how to be careful with the woman I choose to be with. When someone puts you at risk for STDs, gives you PTSD, and tosses away all the emotional and financial health you've invested in a dedicated relationship, you don't owe them a thing. You certainly did the right thing by causing a storm at their wedding. The people there deserve to know what happened. I hope you're doing better now and focusing on whatever makes you smile, and please be careful how much you let your cousin and ex back into your life. They have yet to show sufficient genuine remorse, which says a lot about their character. Adder, in fact, don't let them back into your life at all. Achme, now that you've got your revenge, I would cut them off completely and just focus on yourself. Focus on yourself and building your life back together. Thank you for sharing your story. Let's now get into our second story for today. My story actually goes back a few years, but the current situation with the pandemic has sort of brought it back to life in a way. I turned 39 last December. My girlfriend's birthday is 1 week before mine, and my daughter's falls in between, so we tend to have a birthday week celebration. We had been together for nearly 7 years at the time, married for almost 5. I thought we were very happy, but the speed with which everything changed shocked me. But all of this started back when I was 32 and my daughter was 4. My ex-wife was 31. My ex-wife joined a new gym because of a promotion they were having. It was a very expensive, high-end place. It was after that the trouble started. Details of the cheating aren't that interesting, so I'm not going to spend much time describing it. For about 6 months, my ex-wife became distant, picking fights a lot, going out on girls' nights, etc. After about 6 months of all this, I went away on a business trip, and when I came home, my ex-wife had moved out. 2/3 of all her stuff, and most of my daughter's stuff were gone. In the kitchen, there were divorce papers. Though note nothing, she was offering 50-50 custody and didn't want any money or the house. Now, it might be important to know that at this time, I was already earning 6 figures plus bonuses and commissions, but to some very wise investments and careful planning. I expect to be a millionaire by my 40th birthday or soon after. But I guess she wasn't willing to wait. She is a stunning and beautiful woman, so it's not too surprising she was able to meet the guy she did. Especially in revealing Jim close. I didn't know this when I found the divorce papers, but the man she left me for was already a millionaire. He was also 45, but I didn't know about the other man at the time. All I knew was my wife had left with our child and left behind divorce papers. She wasn't answering my call or anything. Her parents and siblings didn't know where she was. Eventually, I talked to her, but she didn't tell me about the other guy. She just said that she wasn't happy and she wanted to move on. After a couple of weeks, what convinced me to sign the papers was when I received an invitation to her second wedding. I signed the papers, and she remarried 3 months after leaving me. I'm giving kind of an abridged version because the details of all this aren't so unique. As once I was divorced, I got to see my daughter again, and basically she spent half her time with me and half her time with her mother. I focused on being a better and more present father. I redoubled my efforts to work out and established a thorough exercise regimen. I took some courses about investing and trading and made a fortune. I even discovered a new hobby, woodworking. I would find used furniture, usually that had been thrown away. Usually that had been thrown out, and I would refinish it. Eventually, I started dating again, but it was nothing too serious. I was more concerned with having another woman around my daughter. She never really warmed up to my ex-wife's second husband. My daughter often said that he tolerated her, but that was it. She didn't use those exact words, but that's what she described. Actually, I met my current girlfriend. We've been together about 3 years now, living together for 2. My girlfriend is from Thailand and is 10 years younger than me. She studied therapy and worked in a spa. She and my daughter get along great, and my ex-wife is very jealous. My girlfriend and daughter enjoy spending time together in a way I don't think my ex-wife has experienced. For example, my girlfriend and daughter both have long hair and enjoy watching videos online on how to make very elaborate braids and hairstyles. My daughter enjoys this more than the expensive toys my ex-wife is always buying. Time for the plot twist. The lockdown period was not kind to my ex-wife's new husband. He worked as a business consultant and lost about 75 of his clients when the companies wanted to save money. They might hire him again in the future, but now it's tough. He still has plenty of money, but he was essentially living paycheck to paycheck. Furthermore, it turns out he was also heavily in debt. I don't know all the details, but I've heard he has hundreds of thousands of dollars in credit card debt as well as outstanding loans. He had to sell his house, and they moved into a condominium. He'd sold off a lot of his assets to cover most of the costs. He is still comfortable, but their lifestyle took a drastic downgrade. The upside for me, my girlfriend, and my daughter is that my daughter has been living with us full-time for nearly a year. I happily volunteered to take her while they were dealing with their financial situation. The three of us have already visited my girlfriend's family in Thailand, and after the pandemic situation is over, we are going to go back and have a wedding in Thailand. We are tentatively planning on relocating to Thailand. My daughter visited Thailand with us, and we haven't fully talked about it, but she is excited about living in Thailand with us. She's even started taking Thai language lessons online. I don't know how this will work exactly, and it's not like it will happen tomorrow, but I guess I'll just have to wait and see what happens. Anyway, that's my story. I hope it can help as a source of encouragement and motivation for people going through something similar. Remember that things can get better even after a bad situation. There's a very real phenomenon at work here. A fair down, cheaters tend to be insecure. They're often narcissistic, and they need that sweet narcissistic supply to feel validated and happy. The people they choose in an affair are typically manipulative and cloying, giving your cheating ex a sense of inflated ego and cheap love that simply doesn't exist in a long-term relationship after at least seagoing initial stages. Your cheating ex builds shallow relationships with people and is too self-involved and self-victimized to put in the work it takes to grow old with you, bolstered by a secure and deep foundational love. I'm happy to hear that you're doing well. Thank you for sharing your story, and I wish you the absolute best going forward. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to today's stories. If you enjoyed listening, please feel free to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also comment below with your thoughts on what happened. Take care.